Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? My name is Cash, and I'm here on the Planetary Call. Good to be back. It's been a little minute since I went away. What's going on, broski? Let's do a little roll call. Who is here? My guy Lockie knows that the new edit deserves a pay raise. I don't know who did it, but I do love it. I think Srijani, Alicia, and some folks put it together. It is a banger. That's the only way to say it. Jupiverse is here. AG, of course. My guy Fonz. Olia, what's up? What's going on, Scarlett? That smile, though, anytime you're around Scarlett, the smile comes out. That's a fact. We got a fun one for you today. A few kind of key things to go through. Of course, we're going to do it this week in the Jupiverse. Of course. I actually meant to say this fortnight in the Jupiverse, and I said that wrong. And of course, we're going to talk about the DAO vote. We're going to talk about the community strategy going forward. What's going on, Ecstasy? Alley Cat's still in Catland 4, at least mentally. And we have Meow coming in to talk about platform strategy. And then I think we'll have Jono on from Parify. Hard to schedule those boys. They're very deep in the game. But hopefully he's going to come on at the end and we can finally talk a little bit more about that massive investment that took place directly into the Jupe token. With that said, we're going to start off the same way that we always start off. And, legally, there are forces at play inside of Jupiter, I won't lie to you, that try to hide this song from you. I don't want to name names, but there are some folks who did not want us to do what is legally mandated for us to do, and that is to play the unofficial Cadet theme song. Let's go. Let's go. I want to say that my guy Will McFletcher in the chat just revealed some alpha that I had forgotten about, which is there may or may not be a full Pre-Ballin album that's ready and waiting to go. Shout out to our guy Pre-Ballin who's made a bunch of the songs. Not that one, but a bunch of the other ones. And shout out to Hafe, as he also goes by, and his mass finesse in Jupe as well. That I very much take. All right, we got a bunch of things going on. If you haven't already, do me a little favor. Like the stream, retweet the stream, do all that kind of good stuff. If you haven't been here before, welcome. It's great to have you. The goal here is to do a whirlwind tour of everything that's happening across the Jupiverse. And suffice it to say, a lot's been going on in the last 2 weeks. Maybe you noticed. But how this is going to work, make yourself at home. It's going to be about an hour, inshallah. We are working on prediction markets for the length of this call, by the way. It's a little bit tricky to manage the low liquidity, but it is something that we want to do so that some other people can make some money on me going too long. Get active in the chat for the maximum fun. Be like RJ. Jupe is home. He knows that. I'm so wet, I slipped and broke my back. Probably shouldn't have read that comment out loud. And we're going to just kind of try to focus on, in this episode in particular, the kind of community and everything that's going around it that makes Jupiter great and where we go from here. So this is the agenda. This fortnight in the Jupiverse, we're going to talk about all the things that have happened in the last 2 weeks that you might have missed very quickly. We're going to talk about the net zero emissions vote and some key takeaways. I'll be joined by fan favorite, Empress of the Jupiverse May, fan favorite, strategist therapist, Mr. YK. And we're going to talk about some key takeaways from the vote, what it means going forward, and how things are going to work. Then I'm going to talk a little bit more with that same crew about community strategy and where we want to go from here as a community. Meow is on the stream, actually. He is coming on later, Wasi, so it's very possible that we can't do a prediction mark out of this one. He's going to come on and talk about some platform thoughts and kind of like what the vision is for Jupiter going forward, the kind of key areas of focus. And then hopefully, if we can make the time work, special guest Jono from Parify going to come on and talk about their $35 million token investment, which, by the way, in this market is particularly insane. With all that said, I always just do what Sunburst says. And Sunburst says, let's go. So let me go. Not talking about Polymarket today. We have talked about Polymarket already, but we have the Polymarket integration, which is great. Polymonger, my guy, so that is good. The vision is crystal clear. It's about to get even clearer, Famesy. So What happened in the last 2 weeks? Well, let me tell you about it more than a little bit. The net zero emissions vote has officially concluded. A super majority, 75% plus of all statewide voting in favor of a bold new world net zero emissions for the Jupe token for the foreseeable future. This is a very big deal. We're going to talk more about it, dive a little bit more into the data. There's some really interesting insights that we'll share in just a little bit. So stay tuned for that. I will also say stake Jupe is at all-time highs, not unrelated, as you'll find out in a little bit. 830 million Jupe staked and growing steadily, right? So we obviously have heard a lot of noise. I'm sure if you've been on Twitter, you've seen a lot of noise on Twitter. Some people genuine, some people less genuine. But what is clear is that more and more people want Jupe, and more people, want to stake Jupe in particular to participate in meaningful governance, which is good for everybody, in my opinion. And as far as the product side goes, major new release on Jupiter lending against native staked SOL is now available. So if you are native staking from a security perspective or from a tax perspective or for some kind of contractual reason, the good thing is now you can actually borrow against that stake. This is a killer feature. There is something like $30 billion of SOL that is just native staked that's not available to use in DeFi. Now it is. Jupiter Lend, simpler for lenders, better for borrowers. Go check that out if you haven't. I think we have 5 or 6 validators whitelisted right now, with a few more to come. If you have one that you want to borrow against, make sure to let the people know on Twitter, and we'll make that happen. Does Jupe have a burn mechanism? Asks Asolo. We do indeed. So we burned 3 billion tokens back at Cat Istanbul. Then we have ongoing burns through Verified. Shout out to May, who's on the call. And I think more than 1 million Jupe has already been burned over there, around that about. For anyone who wants to get an express lane verification, you can burn Jupe in order to update your metadata as well. And then, of course, the DAO voted a few months ago to burn 140 million Jupe or so that were in the Litterbox Trust. So plenty of burns happening. So there you go. Okay, so that's the answer to your question. Speaking of Jupiter Lend, $30 billion in flash loan volume processed. This is crazy and kind of like caught me by surprise a little bit as well. I think there's a lot of people using this for other reasons, not just like multiply within Jupiter Lend because it has no fees, but it's still great to see, helping drive more volumes for Jupiter, drive more volumes for the Solana ecosystem, making things better in general. That's a nice one. Jupiter Lend is goated. Indonesia, that is correct. And the last one on Jupiter Lend, Kairos Research published a report on Jupiter Lend, a deep dive into an emerging pillar of Solana's DeFi super app. I will say, I don't know if it's emerging anymore when you're growing this fast. That's my only problem. Otherwise, the report is great. Tons of great insights into how it works, what the traction has been like. Go check that out if you want to learn a little bit more as well. On the wallet side, Jupiter Mobile and Jupiter Extension with a brand new feature demanded for a long time by many people. Rent Reclaim is now there in a single click. So you can just get free money. If you are traded a bunch of tokens, every time you get a new token or a new NFT, it opens up an account on the Solana blockchain. You have to pay rent. It's a relatively small amount. It's 0.002 SOL. But if you trade a lot, if you trade in and out of tokens a lot, or you just have never reclaimed rent before, the amount that you can get back can be somewhat sizable. You can get back $50, $100, a few $100s, depending on how actively you trade, all within Jupiter here. My guy Molu saying, honestly, so seamless, great tool, OPEX is W. That is a fact. So this is a great one that you can go check out right here, right now, live today in Jupiter Mobile and in the Jupiter Wallet extension. Speaking of Jupiter Mobile, please stop yelling at me. All right, I've been yelled at for this for a long time. We now have multi-tab DApp browser support on Android as well. It's been there on iOS for a little while. We now have it on Android. Thank you to Nikolai and the Android team. Thank you to everyone who yelled at us as well. Shout out to Slorg on the amazing lend comms. Absolutely true. Yes, we said ew to Android. If you're using Android, you now have multi-tab support. Mobile keeps on shipping. In terms of shipping, I should also point out there is now an official Jupiter Prediction Markets API. So if you are building around prediction markets on Solana, this is where you need to go. Events, order settlement, P&L, leaderboards, and all and more. Just out of the box, works beautifully. Julian, KK, YKit, YY, and Unmol, they cooked on this one. dev.jupe.ag to go get access to that. You can build it into your wallet, build it into whatever dApp you might have, build a new dApp, experiment, have some fun. That is now live as well. Oh boy, there's a lot of shipping. Sol domains, we now have support on the Jupiter wallet on the extension side. So you can use .sol and .secret domains anywhere. You can watch those wallets, use it in your address book, send out the crypto. Ian remains steady shipping over here. If you want to donate some money to Meow, I don't actually know if he owns meow.sol, so maybe don't say it over there, I think. Wazzy and FBI Director Cash. That is over there as well. On the product side, I should also say, get early access to Galileo on Jup.ag right now. This is a very early step. Let me make that super clear. This is our first kind of experiment in using an AI agent to help you kind of explore, learn more, potentially at some point kind of manage the way that you act on chain. I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say that AI agents are actually here, not like 18 months ago when that was going to be the future of the world and it was all bullshit. They actually are very useful now and can do a lot of interesting things. And so we want to make sure that this can become a way that we make Jupiter even simpler to use for people all around the world. AI will be a core part of the Jupiter experience over time. It's just a matter of how we get there. Galileo is live right now. You can sign up for the waitlist. It's a little bubble in the bottom right corner where you can get it. Competes with other people's magic AI. Yeah, I think that this is going to be something that every major team is working on. I tell you, every developer I know is very much thinking about this. But from our perspective, you can use swap, lend, prediction markets, ask questions, and much more all in that. We're rolling off people off the waitlist every day. So people should definitely check that out. Moose asked, are there any plans to integrate the Jup token into the products? So it's integrated into Verified right now, as I mentioned, from a burning perspective. It's integrated into the airdrop checker. The more Jup you have staked, the more you can actually get there. And the last thing I will say is that, yes, there are plans to integrate Jup more into the product suite. It's taking a little bit longer than we had expected, quite honestly, but we want to make sure we do it the right way, that we're not just kind of rushing into it headlong. So stay tuned on that one. Will Galileo be able to handle position changes like unwind, open, etc. eventually? That absolutely is the goal, Borks. It might take us a little while to get there. When you're dealing with agents using kind of real funds, you always want to be ultra careful. But yeah, that's basically the end goal, is that you can just talk to the agent and it'll do everything that you would need to do. We'll see on that last one. When yield farming on Galileo, yeah. So go check that out. Big shout out to Pavs and his agents, Italo, and a bunch of other folks worked on this. Go sign up right now. And if that wasn't enough AI agents for you, agent skills for Jupiter live right now, jup.md. A little clever name. What's going on, Garrick? Skills give AI agents first-class access to Jupiter's core actions in a structured way. So if you are building with agents and you just want to make it very easy for them to add in everything they need to be able to build in DeFi with all the different Jupiter APIs, swap, lend, perps, predictions, so many others as well, prices, etc. You can go over there, jup.md. Expect to see more coming there. On the partnership side, oh boy, this has been 2 weeks. I know all anyone talked about was the vote, but a lot of other stuff happened in those 2 weeks, as we can see here. Girk already has access to Galileo. That's the new status symbol. It used to be Platinum Card on Amex. It used to be Soho House. The new status symbol, do you have access to Galileo or not? That's the real question. If you have access to Crypto.com's wallet, I got good news for you. Solana swaps now powered by Jupiter Ultra, continuing the basic fact that everyone knows. If you want to do stuff in Solana DeFi, you want to work with Jupiter. This is a real moat, folks, that is harder and harder for other people to overcome. It's Coinbase, Uniswap, SushiSwap, Robinhood, Crypto.com, Binance. Like there's just, the list just goes on and on and on and on. It's pretty amazing to see. Wei Lang and the Ultra team really cooked on this one. That is for sure. And I think we have, there's even more. I want to give a personal shout out to my guy Shah over at Noah. Jupiter and Noah bring in everyday finance on chain. In case you didn't know, let me remind you, Jupiter Global is live right now and lets you use your stablecoins anywhere. Apple Pay, Google Pay, QR code pay. If you, like Lockie, or travel around in Southeast Asia, you can do that as well. And now you can actually access crypto and fiat with USD accounts powered by Noah's regulated banking infrastructure. Fun little story about this one, actually. Real side is that we had, me, Meow, and a few other folks were here in Dubai on Mole and some stuff. And Thomas was here. Thomas, who leads Global, Tommy Dex, as he's known as, great dude. And we were just talking, and I remembered a guy that I had met at a liquid fund pitch night like 6 months ago, a guy named Shah, who was super friendly, and I knew he was kind of working in this space. I texted him because he happened to be in Dubai for like 48 hours or something. He came over on like an hour's notice. We ended up spending 2 or 3 hours together, figured out this partnership. Major shout out to the Noah guys. They ship like crazy. Been great partners, enabling really unique features for Jupiter Global. So if you haven't already tried it, go try Jupiter Global. I promise you, you are going to enjoy it. And those guys are shipping forever. Mike, RIP, being from the UK, got to wait for Global. Yeah, there's a few places where it's harder from a licensing perspective, UK, Europe, a few other countries. But I think we have 60 plus countries right now, if I'm not mistaken. Should be a pretty good one. Yeah, Poland, tell the EU to make it a little bit easier, but we will get there. I promise you that. We will have Global over there. That is a fact. Last two things real quick. First one, we have a new feedback button on the site. Previously, we used to use feedback.jup.ag, which was great, but it was hard to be able to follow up with people or know kind of what products people were using when they were submitting that feedback. So now on the bottom of jup.ag, the bottom right corner, click on feedback, and you can leave your feedback, and then we'll know kind of who exactly is saying it, which is super helpful. You can also always tag at Jupiverse, Jup_burst. Major shout out for OPAX. If we can just give a little W for OPAX in the chat, much deserved. The Burst team is in fact goated. No, we're not getting a POAP today, Dr. Frankenmiller. We might have to bring it back though. I kind of miss the POAPs personally. I don't know. We'll see. Do people in the chat want POAPs? We could do that. Again, there's no like real financial value to them. They're just for fun. But if people want them, say POAP in the chat, and then we'll know whether to bring that back. There's one person I know who's really going to hate me right now for bringing this up, but that's fine. And then lastly, I just want to give a little shout out to Ponderman over on drip.house/Ponderman. Put together this lovely little graphic of all the people at Cat Lampour, hand drawn over here. There's a bunch of people you can see yourself. I see Heavy Metal Cook with the cowboy hat, Solana Sensei over here. I mean, there's too many people I can't actually count. I think this is me as the brown guy on stage. My guy Eno. Not sure this is Seong, Hafe. Like, there's so many great people in here. This is Joe Doe, the chef, Ali Cat, and so forth. Like, such a cool little thing. Oh, that's Xiao Xiao. Got it. That's Xiao Xiao. This is I don't know. Oh, this is Meow doing a push-up contest in the back, which he was doing outside the after party for a while. I won't tell you what happened there. Lost and so many others. I just thought this was like super, super cool and nice. OX Baba saying, any information about the Rainfire airdrop? No information to give you right now, but we are going to follow through with that. It won't be Jupe, but we'll be following through with something for the Rainfire users. So just stay tuned. Still just finalizing the details on that one as well. Where is the pickle? That is a good question. Where is my guy Girk? I don't know. He's going to have to do a version 2 at some point. On stage. Nice art. Is this on Drip? Yes, it is. Drip.house/Ponderman. So I just thought this was like super, super fun. A nice little thing. It's my new phone background. Just makes me happy when I open it up. So just want to put it on there. Okay. That is all for this week this fortnight in the Jupiverse, and it is quite a bit. Let's talk a little bit about this net zero emissions vote that just finished. My goodness. That was a big one. And to talk about this, I'm going to bring on, you know her, you love her, the 9-year-old interner. What's up, May? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Another day in paradise, May. What can I say? And we'll bring on the biggest stretcher I know. He only does W's with his body when he comes on the call, Mr. YKP. How you doing, YK?
Not too bad. I thought you were doing May first. I was going to go find myself some whiskey. But
YK is consistently the most drunk person on the Planetary Call every time. I will say he takes a few shots for his good health. So yeah, grab the love in the chat. Wasi's developed quite a cult following. May, I gotta say, you might have to step up your game a little bit to remain as the #1 fan favorite. You are right now.
But
that's not how you do it. You gotta come on to every call from now on. That's the way to overcome.
You can send me any
all right. So over the last 10 days or so, we've had this vote. The vote has now concluded. No net new emissions for Jupe for the foreseeable future. Big deal alert. 75% of the vote was in favor of this option. So this was not a close vote in that sense. Quite a big outcome here. Before we get into what this actually means, Jupiverse is postponed indefinitely. Those tokens have been returned to the community called multisig, so they're still there. The snapshot is still there. It's going to be preserved as well. Team emissions, but that's 700 million Jupe that will not be emitted. That was expected to be emitted. Team emissions have also been halted, with all the liquidity needs for any team members who need to sell being handled by the Jupiter balance sheet. Major vote of kind of conviction in the token that Jupiter is willing to continue to accumulate these tokens, and a major kind of vote of confidence from the team. In where we're going here. And then finally, accelerated vesting for the Mercurial stakeholders with any potential sell pressure absorbed by Jupiter as well. Again, another commitment from the team's balance sheet to kind of support this. Obviously, it was a contentious vote. Certainly on Twitter, it was more contentious than it was at the ballot box, I would say. At the ballot box, it was a super majority. But what we did see, or what I think is clear, is with this, there's a bold new direction for Jupe the token. It's a bold new narrative that, by the way, no other mature token has in this market. And that's the kind of stuff that really matters when markets start to turn, especially for a lot of investors. And I think it's a great sign of kind of the community coming together, taking the long term rather than just the short term view. May, what did you think of the vote? Any fun war stories from the trenches?
I think the vote results were actually pretty surprising to me that there is such a strong like amount of people voting for option 2, because if we look at like the commentary and the discussions that we had, I thought it was pretty equal. And I think there's really a big silent majority out there who is looking at this proposal and thinking about it, and then voting with the Jupe. So yeah, I think it's cool that the community is choosing supply discipline over like a short-term payout, and that is something that I think is good and meaningful. Like communities that look for the long term, who want to stick it out for the long run and build something that is healthy and strong together. So I think that's pretty bullish.
It's very bullish indeed. YK, what do you think, buddy?
I think the vote was very interesting, actually. I mean, I think there were actually very valid arguments on both sides. I think there were obviously a lot of people saying the team wants it in this direction or in that direction, but I don't think that's particularly the case. I personally thought there were some very good arguments for option 1 as well, just keeping status quo, letting, emitting what needs to be emitted in the market, and then sort of coming back next year. And option 2, obviously, is, as Cash says, it's a very huge vote of confidence by the team in ourselves, to be honest, because when you're emitting tokens in the market, you're basically saying we'll let the market pay the token holders, right? So the token holders might be Mercurial investors, it might be team members, it might be airdrop, people receiving airdrops. We're basically saying we'll let the market pay them. But in this case, what we're saying is we're stopping all of that. If anyone needs to get paid, like we will backstop it ourselves. So I think it's a huge, it's a very radical direction for sure. But it also shows, I think, that I mean, it also showed the good and bad bits, right? Or rather, the bits that could use improvement. We think of a lot of our product suite as products to keep iterating on, right? Just because they're good doesn't mean you stop iterating on them. You keep making them better, essentially. And I think going through this process as well, there's a few things that we could do better regards to governance in the future. I mean, for instance, the discourse on Twitter was very different from what actually happened in the ballot box. And we appreciate why, because there were a lot of people who were very angry on Twitter, making advocating a certain direction and then shilling a ref link, for example. But the thing is, the people that are speaking might not necessarily be the people that actually vote, which is kind of a bit of an issue when you think about DAOs and how voting works in Web3 ecosystems, right? It's like if you are going to have a voice, you should be voting, essentially. So interesting to see how we can do more of that. You also see a lot of like the rise of like LLMs, like large language models and AI, because you start seeing like people go on the forums, for instance, and then start dropping like obviously AI generated content to try and push the vote in one direction or the other. And there's a question of how we could address that sort of going forward. I also wrote a bit about, you also can think about the breakdown, and the breakdown of voters actually in this one was.
We'll get to that. We got to side with this other day. Don't steal all my takeaways. But no, I think that your point is definitely well heard. Of like governance process improvements. I think like frankly, comms process improvement is definitely also.
100%.
Yeah, that part was probably the most painful. I think that was the feedback that resonated the most. That was like, that was not ideal, but we do what we think is best, or we put options in front of the community that we think are best, kind of serving the community, not always necessarily if it is good for us. So here's one of my key takeaways. We have I think 5 or 6 here, so May and YK, you guys can jump in as well with any others. But one key takeaway that I thought was interesting: the meme around DAOs for the longest time has been the DAOs just give themselves money. Like whenever they can vote in favor of getting more money, they will always do it. And that was not true in this case. And I think that's actually like a meaningful and surprising signal. I mean, I know because I've done like 2 or 3 podcasts since. In every interview, they have brought this up. They're like, it's kind of weird. How did you guys build a DAO where people are actually thinking about things long term and actually having a debate? Because don't forget, a lot of the stakers are themselves users and would have received Jupiverse. And there was a specific stakers portion in Jupiverse as well. So even if the stakers never used Jupiter, they were still foregoing immediate tokens in order to get to net zero emissions as a greater collective. And I think that's something really to be commended and somewhat surprising, quite honestly, in the landscape. It's been no secret that I think that at times Jupiter has been too heavy on politics and not heavy enough on product in its comms. But I think that in this specific case, all that time that we'd spent on the politics and building up people's understanding of what governance was really about paid off in a big way. Were you guys surprised by this as well? May, YK?
I think it's fairly interesting. I don't think DAOs always vote to give themselves money. I mean, clearly in our case, there was an example of it not happening. I do think DAOs tend to vote in. You get a good idea of what everyone's interest is, right? And I think the fact of the matter is that a lot of the voter base, the people that are staking, are people that believe massively in Juve, in the long term, essentially, right? And I think it's a huge. It is. I think it's actually a bit of a huge of. I think it's a vote of confidence both ways, to be honest. Like if we had went option one and we had a 75% majority that way, I would be very happy with it and went brilliant, because I think it was Chris Taylor or something that wrote this article, which makes sense. It's like let's just go ahead of the plan and then we trust the team to execute later on anyway. So I think both ways are good, and what's most important to me, kind of like it's almost like a governance philosophy in that, is that this option was even put on the table in the first place.
I think even in the initial discussions, a lot of like the anger was around communications and expectations, and not necessarily around the logic of this proposal. So yeah, I think like broadly the community does agree that this is good for the long-term token health of Jup, and they do agree that for the long run it is something that they can get behind.
It's good to see. Another key takeaway was interesting. This is our second vote ever not having active staking rewards, in the sense that before, in order to claim your active staking rewards, you had to actively participate in governance. We put a pause to that based on token holder feedback, whatever, 6 months ago. It was our second time. And it wasn't clear to me that we'd have, who knows what percentage of tokens would actually vote. In most DAOs, the percentage of voter participation is tiny, right? It's like single-digit percentage oftentimes. What we saw here was actually more than 50% of all stake weight. So it's 480. Yeah, about 52 or 53% of all stake weight actually participated in governance here, which I thought was very cool. And people clearly are interested in contributing to meaningful decisions that affect them, which is actually quite interesting. One other thing, I think YK talked about this a little bit before. I was personally surprised about how many bots were in my mentions. Like people would say, whatever, call me a stinky Indian or some other like weird shit. So I'd click onto their account to be like, who is this guy? And why is he saying this? And they'd have like 89 tweets all in the last like 12 days, all about the Jupiverse airdrop. And so it was interesting to see that somebody, whether it's, I don't know who it is. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. It could just be random people that wanted to try to shift the public conversation. But I think it is true that FUD bots are going to be a regular fixture of future votes. And so what you see is not always what you get. And I think it's important that everyone is aware of it. Importantly, I do want to say loudly and clearly, not all FUD is from bots. And I don't want to dismiss realistic and reasonable FUD, or not even FUD, reasonable disagreements that people had. But this was a very interesting one. I know people have talked about it in national elections and stuff. And this was the first time I really felt it in one of our governance procedures. Besides,
anger drives engagement, right? Like anger and emotions drive a lot of engagement, and that probably has some kind of incentive for the FUD bots to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not just bots. I think, like you said, importantly, not all FUDs from bots. And then so it's like you pass out the sort of FUD from bots, and then you look at what criticism is left, and then you think about where that criticism is coming from, and then you figure out how much weight to give to the criticism, which I think is quite important, right? So because even among the criticism that isn't coming from the bots themselves, there is a question, I've written about this before, about whose voice matters, who you should be listening to. And for instance, if someone is and I've engaged with this a lot, if someone is going for either option and they are a huge Jupiter user and they're pissed off because of X, Y, and Z, it is our responsibility to go figure out why they are angry. How do we get people to come together? Because the downside of a voting system is that one side is always going to be disappointed. And what's important in a voting system is that those people can then come back together and move forward, right? I mean, you saw this a lot in the U.S. elections where people keep saying, "Oh, if Trump wins, I'm going to leave the country." Most of them don't actually end up leaving the country. And similarly, it's like when it comes to staker base, sure, you've got 75% voting power, voting in one direction, but you don't want the other 25% to unstake and leave. You want the other 25% to come back and continue to engage in reasonable discourse and kind of pull together in the correct direction for the token and the project going forward. And then obviously, and then there's going to be a lot of probably the most angry people are going to be those like, and I've clicked through some of these profiles because I really like to engage with like the real criticism. So I've clicked through these profiles, and if someone is telling me, oh, I hate Jupiter liars, yada yada, and sure, I want to figure out why you think we're liars, what's good, what's bad, and then I click on the profile, and it's them just shilling shitcoins over and over again, and shilling reflinks over and over again, and I go, all right, you know what, this person is maybe not someone that I want to put a lot of heavy weight on their opinions. Similarly, for some KOLs, I'm not saying something wrong with that, but clearly some KOLs have gone out and told everyone to do X, Y, and Z and use their ref links, and then now there's an error, right? So now they're angry. So there's a lot of thinking behind why is someone angry, and sometimes it's very valid why they're angry, and we need to think about how to address that, how to make sure everyone is the whole point of a voting system is that we get to a compromise. And the whole idea here is that we want everyone to compromise. The vote itself was a compromise between the team, the community, the team and the community. And I think the community itself needs to compromise and be like, at the end of the day, we sort of push forward together.
Absolutely.
I actually really enjoyed the X spaces because people who showed up on spaces and shared their thoughts were like very well informed, very civil, and there was like great debate and great discussions from both sides. And that kind of like signal and sentiment that we get from spaces, I think it's maybe a lot more reflective than
there's a maybe.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely more reflective because, and again, on that, I think it actually probably ended up being like 60-40, I would say, like keeper and not. So like it wasn't like fully weighted one side or another, but it was just like much more balanced. The arguments were like reasonable and logical of like, hey, this violates expectations, that can make it hard to like build expectations in the future. Totally fair and good point. And then obviously another side of it coming through, which is the side that won around net zero emissions. I do think eventually, right now in the Discord, there is a Matrika gated channel for token holders to go and have a discussion just amongst themselves. That one was, I think, like that discussion in there was much better. I do think we need like a public non-Discord version of that as well, where there's like a governance forum where people who have stake can actually participate. And then you just know. And, hopefully people in the community can learn to tune out the noise on Twitter and look at the verified kind of feedback. I think that's at least one important component. There's probably some more to happen here as well. I will say another key takeaway. I saw this this kind of meme going around again on Twitter of all places that it was like kind of whales versus everyone else. It was not. A majority of voters in nearly every bracket voted for net zero emissions. Well, I'll make this bigger. Shout out to Pine Analytics. Jack and the gang put this one together. Not for us. They just happened to do it. So but from 0 Jupe to 1,000 Jupe, there was a majority, but less than 60%, who were in favor of proceeding with Jupiverse. In every other category, it was more than 50% for the net zero emissions proposal here. So this was not just a thing where, it was only the whales like with more than 1 million Jupe that decided things. It's really across the board. And even on the below the 0 to 1,000 stake, you see that it was not, it was not like 99% to 1% or something. It was like, about 60-40, which by the way is less than the overall kind of margin that happened here. So voters, even with as little as 1,000 Jupe, were still kind of overwhelmingly in favor of net zero. So we saw some nice broad consensus across the different groups. YK, anything to say about this kind of distribution here?
I mean, to be honest, I kind of did expect the distribution looked a bit like this, but
honestly,
could be a little bit more aggressive, like on the below 1K side. I guess maybe a lot of people below 1K just didn't stake, so maybe that's kind of like that might be why. I think it's definitely interesting because there is a lot of talk in the crypto space around whale games, and this clearly shows, in multiple brackets that people sort of thought that this was generally quite a good idea. I can rant on a lot longer. I think that maybe we should have safeguards against whale games, for instance, going forward. By hit voting, by ID voting, essentially could be quite interesting, going down the line. But yeah, this is a very interesting distribution. It was a lot more net zero favored than I expected.
May, did this surprise you?
Yeah, I think like there's definitely a like that whole Twitter commentary versus the real sentiment that's out there difference.
cool to see. I will also say another key takeaway: looking at the data, times change, minds change. You like that? You like that little wordplay? What we saw is a deep dive. So of the stake weight of the votes, like the jupe that was used in the initial Jupiverse vote in 2024, a full 82% of those votes changed and voted for net zero emissions in 2026. Actually, more than just the average, is what you'll see, right? Because the average won by 75%. This was 82% went for net zero. And this was a really clarifying stat, I think, when we looked into it. Shout out to YK, who suggested looking into this in the first place. And then shout out to Yoda, Kishin, and Morton, who helped me get this data. Very surprising to see that, the markets change, the world's change, and then the votes changed accordingly as well. Seeing this made me feel much better about bringing this back to the community to kind of revisit, at least have a decision to confirm whether or not they wanted to go with what they said, what the DAO said, whatever, 15, 16 months ago. 82% of votes, pretty wild. Is that surprising to either of you, or is this what you thought would happen?
No, this was I asked for the number because I wanted to know what it was, and it's actually a lot more than I expected. I mean, a lot of the reasons why we decided to do this vote in the first place was because was essentially because we thought that the staker demographic had changed drastically, right? The thesis behind it was that the staker demographic changed so much that most of the people that participated in the first vote is no longer around, and therefore the mandate to do it is not that strong. So that was the thesis behind it. But sort of seeing this as well shows that even the people who voted in one direction to provide a mandate in the first place have then since changed their mind, which is actually incredibly powerful stat. I think some takeaways from this could be that I think maybe we need to stop committing so far in advance. Clearly there was an issue because people think about what's happening in the then and thinking in the back then. But if you're voting for, you're basically essentially making decisions that bind yourself in the future, then you're kind of like screwing yourself over. So maybe decisions like this, maybe it's like, for instance, like budget and so on, they kind of get passed once a year or once every quarter or something along those lines, right? And this is effectively a budget. So if we think about it, maybe the way we should have done it was to stagger out the votes rather than have us essentially be, effectively, have something voting for pretty far in the future. And 2 years in crypto is like fucking 20 years in real life. So,
yeah, this was a real thing that we debated a lot at the time of that vote, I can tell you. And I think Meow has come out on record and say that we should not have done two at the same time. That was not the right way to go.
Yeah,
Thomas Jefferson once called it the tyranny of the past, right? You don't want the people who just happen to come before you to force you as a current holder into a particular situation.
Correct. Yeah, so it's the tyranny of the past, and in this case, it's also being bound by yourself from the past.
Yeah, I'll say just to really quickly address this, Cask said thoughts on the allegations that Jupe voted with their community holdings to unfairly decide the outcome. Complete and utter nonsense. There's no such thing as community holdings. We don't even have community holdings. There's community, like all the major multi-sigs are public transparency reports. We'll show you those. Token holder reports show you those as well. And no, we definitely did not vote with any of those. That is for goddamn sure. So put that allegation right to bed. Easy enough.
I think it's fair to say we didn't know how this would play out.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, people, all the talk about people like, oh, the team controls those. We really don't. I don't know how much more. I don't know what else to say besides that is the case. There are Jupe members, team members who have vested Jupe, who might have voted with that vested Jupe. But again, that's better. What do you want them? You want them to sell their Jupe? You don't want them to hold on to their Jupe and to stake it and keep it? Like it's hard.
But some of them actually voted for option one as well.
Yeah, correct. Right, because some of the team members did. It's not a unanimous thing across the team either.
Yeah, because the whole idea of this vote is everybody compromises. And the fact of the matter is that the way we implement it is actually kind of like not beneficial. It's detrimental to the team. Like as a team member, if I'm receiving some Jupe, back then I could basically take it out, loop it, put it in LP, do all sorts of stuff with it. And now I can't. So like this actually is a compromise on the team's end as well. And I know there are team members that voted for option one as well. Like status quo is good for them.
Yeah, true. So times change, minds change. One other thing that I say, I think this is the last one. What's cool is when we have meaningful votes, we actually see more stakers coming into the DAO. So this one was pretty surprising. 12% of vote weight, 60 million Jupe, had never voted before this one. So this is one of those things that I think, it got more investors excited about Jupe as a token. And those people who had their Jupe and didn't really know what to do with it, staked it, came into the DAO. I think that's also kind of cool, right? There's a right balance. Too much voting turns people off. But a little bit of voting on the really high leverage stuff, that actually brings people in and helps kind of grow the decentralization of the protocol, which I think is quite interesting to see. Nice. All right, I think that's about it. Any other like kind of takeaways, May, YK, that you guys wanted to share here before we jump into the next topic, I should say?
I think the best communities are the ones that are long-term oriented. And with this vote, the people have spoken that they want to build up like a Jup token that is something that's healthy for the long run. And I think that is something I'm excited about, where we can get back into product execution and have some breathing room to iterate for the next gen of like our tokenomics and product comms.
Very nice. Molo asked, is there a stat that shows how they voted? I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think it was about 91% of the vote weight went towards net new or zero net emissions. So they were largely people coming on to kind of push the token in that, or push the governance in that direction, which is interesting. YK, any final thoughts on this before we talk about the community strategy?
I think it was quite nice to hear the different points of view. Like once you cut through all the noise and everybody being angry and so on and so forth, there were actually some very reasonable discussions that one can have. There's a lot of very good proposals and good ideas being thrown around. And I think the fact is that I kind of read pretty much every single piece of feedback. And sometimes it's like, oh, you should do this. Yes, I don't disagree with that. Obviously, things like this takes time. Like Jupiter is very much in an early stage when it comes to its politics, its political system, effectively. So we should see this evolve over time. I do think that the upside of having a DAO, having people debate stuff like this, is it actually just does give us a lot more color into how people are thinking or how people are thinking about things. So that was certainly helpful, right? Mm-hmm. It's like initially I was thinking, hey, I think a lot of people are going to go option 2, and then some very good arguments came on the option 1 side, and I started going, you know what? Actually, option 1 is maybe status quo is a pretty good idea, and then I just became happy that we even had the vote at all, because then people kind of get to decide. I think the most important thing is people sort of coming together and show, and this shows our commitment to the token itself. I think this for some reason there's a lot of questions around the team's commitment to this token. I think this is the most commitment a team has ever done to this token.
Show me another team doing something like this. You can't.
Yeah, I think even before this, I think that we had shown the most commitment to the token. I think after this, almost certainly, right?
That is a fact. So just to recap it here, the DAO vote is now done. Whether you voted yes, whether you voted for net zero emissions or to continue with the plan as it was, we hope that you can come back together now. It happens in every country. After the election, people feel more polarized and so on. But hopefully we can now move forward. This is the direction. The voters have spoken. This is the way it was going to go. It was not particularly close, 75% in favor. Powerful new narrative for Jup. Powerful show of conviction by the community, by the team, by the company itself, and hopefully clear skies. And Jupiter can kind of go green with net zero emissions going forward. That is the idea. All right. With that said, we can talk a little bit about community strategy. May, say my name. May, do you want to say his name?
Ola Cash.
There you go. All right. I know it is also late, May. If you want to, you're welcome to say. Otherwise, Diego. All right. So want to talk a little bit more about the community in particular as we're going forward into the new year, right? Because I think we want to make sure that there is a clear understanding of what the community exists for and double down on it as we go forward. The community has always been the thing that is behind Jupiter. Of course, the tech, the products, the team have always been great, but it's really the community that separated us. Cat Lampore was a clear example. 1,300 people a day in the depths of a bear market in the middle of Southeast Asia coming together to celebrate Jupiter and the future of on-chain finance. It's crazy. This is the kind of thing that you don't really see, and we need to do even more of it. And so that's where some of the community strategy comes into play. The first and obvious question is, why should people join the Jupiter community? And I think that the value prop that we really want to invest more into classically here is learn, earn, and grow the pie. Learning, there's no more friendly place to learn about on-chain finance than Jupiter. Earning, this one we haven't talked as much about. I will say shout out to Meteora. They've done an awesome job of this, the LP Army. All the great folks over there, Heavy Metal Cook, Loki, and Mir, of course, Soju, so many others. People know I want to earn some money, I go to Meteora. I want people to have that same mindset about coming to Jupiter as well. Now you earn in a different way. You should be part of both communities. But whether it's learning how to trade more effectively, learning how to hedge risk, how to farm, funding rates, how to get discounts on stock tokens, how to use yield to improve, your earning capacity, your savings capacity, prediction markets, etc. Need to get better at that side. And then finally on growing the pie, which is how do we actually make this entire space much bigger? So you come to Jupiter community to learn, to earn, and to grow the pie. May, YK, what do you guys think? We've obviously done a bunch of community work as well. Do you think this describes what the Jupiter community should be all about?
I think we have like a really strong community who really care about Jupiter, and like we've seen them turn out on the spaces. We've seen them debate a lot of things, and I think like the discourse in the past couple months, year has been pretty like a lot of anger, and I think it would be interesting to shift that towards things that are more action oriented, because there's so much product stuff that's going on and so much that people can get excited about, and they can share with each other, and that comes back to our original mission of growing the pie as well. So I think it's beautiful. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is kind of like evangelizing on-chain finance. I think we're starting to reach a point in the world where, I can rant for a long time about this, where you're starting to see social contracts in different countries sort of start breaking down a lot. Trust in, the sort of centralized financial institutions have come down a lot. And I think people are going to start getting onto DeFi. You're already seeing stablecoin rails being adopted in, a lot of these TradFi participants. And one of the interesting things, which I think Jupiter we specifically position for, and Meow has specifically told me this, is that you want to go and get the retail person to come on chain. You want to go get the retail person, and the retail person, might be in the US, they might be in Singapore, they might be in Malaysia, they might be in Lebanon, they might be anywhere, to be honest. And and the whole idea behind it is to get all these people to come on chain. So I think a lot of what the community should be about and what Jupiter should be about is educating people about, first of all, what coming on chain means, right? And that cell could mean very different things to different people. Like to a person that is already actively, for instance, trading their stocks on eToro and whatever, it's just, hey, I can trade perps here, or I can, be more aggressive on trading prediction markets and whatnot, right? That's kind of like that sell to that group of person. If you're going to a person in a largely unbanked country, then that's a bit different. It's like, I can now store my money in US dollars and earn yield on it and be able to transact seamlessly with, my family or my buddies, across the world in US dollars. So, and it, and to a person that is incredibly libertarian, the sell is a lot more philosophical. It's not really about the banks, be in self-custody of money. I think that's kind of like the beauty of on-chain finance, and the beauty of the community is that everyone knows somebody that you could onboard into the space. And I shared a story internally in the team the other day around me onboarding my mother-in-law over Chinese New Year. She was complaining about the bank and saying, hey, this bank takes a freaking long time. And I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to send you 50 USDT. And she's like, what the hell is that? So I created the magic link on the universal send on Jupe Mobile, and I sent it to her on WhatsApp. And she immediately downloaded Jupe Mobile, immediately started playing around with it. And then I gave some feedback to the team, because she then said, this is really cool. How do I spend this money now, right? How do I spend this money now? And then that's when we thought we need to make the interface a lot more normal people friendly. Because when normal people look at a finance app, they think about banking, they think about spending it. Whereas when you're looking at somebody's on chain, that's more, terminally online in the crypto Twitter space, you immediately think, I've got money, what can I aim into? So it's like different priorities for different people. Sorry for ranting on, but I think essentially it's evangelizing the on-chain vision.
Mostly what we're trying to do is just get YK's mom on chain. If we can get YK's mom on chain, then everything else gets much, much easier, I will say.
So my mother-in-law is easier. My mom, I think I might need to get a church to start accepting tithes on chain. So I need to convert the local church, and then she will start. providing
That's indeed true. Molu asking the question, Jupiter ships like no other, but community sentiment seems tied to token price. Is there a need to disconnect those emotions? I don't see other DeFi protocols who ship much less with the same or worse price action that don't get the same FUD as Jupiter. There's a few extra negatives in there, but I think I understand the point. I do think that the reason that you see more of that happening in Jupiter, like more of the kind of FUD tied to the token price, is that we just have a bigger community. Like a lot of these protocols out here don't really have a community, right? They got some Twitter followers maybe, but they don't actually have people that like care about the underlying mission as much, or they're as actively engaged. I mean, just like look at these kind of calls, right? We do these every 2 weeks with thousands and thousands of people watch them. So much other content goes out. So part of that is, I think, just happens at scale when you actually have the community at scale. The second
think it's
piece,
also yeah, Cash. I think it's also a matter of us shipping so quickly, kind of like almost acts against us. Because why do people buy Jupiter token? Because they want to get exposure to the Jupiter ecosystem, right? And when you see Jupiter shipping at such a rapid rate, you might be buying the token because you're like, oh my god, they keep shipping. Like if you're looking at another protocol, that isn't shipping as quickly, you're like, yeah, well, why isn't Jupiter's price appreciating against some other protocol when it's shipping at 10x the rate? So I feel like that creates a lot of questions around why is the number not going up? Is it the team selling? Is it so and so? And then people start trying to find a scapegoat for it. I think the fact of the matter is that there are some really good protocols because like I advised quite a number of them, and a lot of good protocols, their prices are all down. I mean, the fact of the matter is that right now we are very much in a bit of like liquidity vacuum. Like there isn't as much interest in people investing in the token, in tokens generally. Like when people go like, oh, why is Jupe down 5% today? Well, because Bitcoin is down 5% today. That's why, right? Or maybe not Bitcoin, but like Bitcoin goes down 2%, and then Solana keeps 5%, and then Jupe 5%. Yeah. So I think it's just about, it's just about staying here for the long game, right? And now you know for a fact that you've got net zero emissions. If the market turns, hopefully, inshallah, things, we will start outperforming protocols that don't ship as aggressively.
To see how you're going to land the plane on that one, brother, without financial advice. I do think that that is actually, so yes, we do have to separate those two things, right? The more things are anchored in the community around token price, the harder it's going to be for everyone because we can't control the token price. We can do things, we can influence it, but it's not fundamentally in our control. If, Jensen Huang has a heart attack tomorrow, we're all fucked anyway, right? But what we can focus on is this community value prop, right? Around come here if you want to learn, earn, and grow the pie. And that's why we really want to double down on this idea of preachers and teachers. I think that my guy, Crypto Kelly, there he is, said, what is the best way to contribute to all of this? This is what we need right now. We need more preachers and we need more teachers. Here's what I mean by that. Preachers are the community promoters. They're the ones who are bringing people in, top of the funnel, contributing good vibes, contributing good energy, getting people excited about the future of on-chain finance and what Jupiter's role is going to be in it, right? They are oftentimes the ones who, like YK, are convincing their mother-in-law to jump into the mobile app, right? Teachers, related, you could be both a preacher and a teacher, but the teachers are really the knowledge providers, right? So the preachers kind of bring them in, and the teachers then get them, make sure that there's real value being created for them. We're talking here about mentors, curriculum developers, educational people. People are hosting, events in the real world and so on. Whereas we had a slide with all the different images. I don't know where it has gone now.
I remember like the early days of the Jupiter Discord when we didn't have a token, and people walked into our Discord because they were using our product, and they were like, "Hey, why doesn't this work?" And they were teaching other users to use the product or to click like some strange button on the side to help them do whatever they need to do. And I see that same like organic community forming with early stage projects like OpenClaw, where people are just like entering the Discord because they're excited about the product and they want to learn how to use it. They are happy to share with other users, like how to make the most of that product. Like, oh, you can install this skill or that skill, you can debug this or troubleshoot your experience that way. And I think just people who are excited about a product and sharing about it, that is what I would love to see a lot more of. Like, hey, there are all these cool things that you can do on Jupiter.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the heady early days, right? Where a token is great because it allows us to reach new audiences. It creates leverage for the company and for the community, allows us to do things like governance that we can't do without a token. So there's good parts of having a token, but the downside is they can sometimes distract from the initial mission, right? Because the number goes up and down, it's very volatile. People make and lose money and so forth. you get this overemphasis on the token price. We got to bring that community back to its core fundamentals and what made it actually great. As Gigi is saying in the chat, at the end of the day, people rally around the products that solve their problems and bring them value. We know that that's what the Jupiter product suite can do for people. The problem is they don't know it yet. And that's where the preachers come in to get them excited, and the teachers come in to actually make sure they're able to go and use those. There are a bunch, here are just a few examples of preachers and teachers, by the way. The list is much longer than this. But, Better Call Saul, Lost, Marino, Sarah, all doing a great job kind of putting out there the good word of what's happening, coming up with memes, bringing people in, making content that's getting excited, onboarding people in real life as well. And then just a few examples of teachers. Again, many of these people kind of fill both roles, but Jupe Espanol has been doing a great job. My guy Molu for the longest time, detailed threads, workshops, Wilotep as well. Like, these are the kinds of people we need thousands of if we are actually going to kind of change the future of finance and where things are going. Leonardo's, as I say, there's a very limited list. There's many, many more people who are not on here, but just wanted to give a few quick shout outs. And so there are a few specific areas of contribution I wanted to flag real quickly. The first one is we are building Jupiter Academy. Thomas talked about this at Catlampor. You can see it there. And we need community contributions about DeFi education and on-chain finance education. That can be about how to use Jupiter products. It might be about how to do technical analysis. It might be how to think about yield generation and finding yield strategies, how to think about airdrops, or whatever else it might be can go into Jupiter Academy. And so we're going to have a public call for content from the community to come help us fill that out. That's one concrete area where you can help. If you're more on the preacher side than on the teacher side, we do have the referral dashboard live now for the first time. This recently went live. It's in the upper menu on jupe.ag. And you can actually refer people and earn as a result of it. So now there's a nice way to kind of align the interests as you actually are able to get people on. You can see how many people you're actually referring, which is great, and make sure that you're benefiting as well from their usage as they continue on. So that is Molu teach me how to collect cash feed pics. Grateful for it. Well, Molu maybe should be removed from that slide. The other thing we are going to start doing again is enabling people to host local events to onboard the world to Jupiter Mobile and Jupiter Global. I really think that Jupiter Global can be the gateway drug for people who maybe have some stable coins and want to connect their on-chain and off-chain life, or people who don't even know how much yield they can earn if they're actually fully on-chain. And so you can expect more updates on that coming in Discord, going back to the local grassroots events strategy, right? Across all of these, these are all concrete ways. We want to create more tools that allow the community to kind of step into that role as either a preacher or as a teacher and help people learn, earn, and grow the pie themselves as we go forward.
Okay, 100%, by the way. Do you know how I got my mother-in-law interested? I mean, apart from the bank being shared, is that she then showed me how much she was earning on her USD, and it was something like 3.2%. And I was like, you can get 4% on that right now.
Yeah, 4.7% use JUPUSD.
4.7% on JUPUSD. Okay, you can get 4% on it right now, right? And it's very strange because when you live in the crypto world, everyone's thinking about optimizing for their yield, optimizing for their dollars and cents over and over again. But then in the sort of real world, the average retail user doesn't really think about it. They just go, oh, okay, this is convenient, I'm going to use it. So I think on our side, I think the team's job, the product team's job, is to build a product that's as seamless as possible, and then maybe the community comes in by then providing this product and sort of telling people about it, and that's kind of how we keep growing the pie. That's how we keep growing the community, because the next iteration of Jupiter's growth isn't going to be on the Twitter space. It's going to be everywhere, right? It's going to be everywhere.
The only way that we grow.
Yeah, it's like the angry people should be calling Cash an Indian scammer on Facebook and WhatsApp and everything else, not just on Twitter.
yeah, you can call me a scammer in more places, people. That's the scare. No, I think that's exactly right.
Local town square in Lebanon.
I think that there's a lot of people, especially in these bear markets, who feel a bit lost. They've lost a lot of money. Listen, I've lost a lot of money. How do I stay excited about crypto despite all the other exciting things happening in the world and how painful it can be to be in this industry at times? It's because I'm connected to a greater purpose and I understand what I'm actually here to do and how the work that I'm doing is try to impact the world in a positive way. Not everyone has the luxury or the ability to do that full time like we do at Jupiter, but anyone in the community can contribute to that mission by joining the Jupiter community and helping spread the good word themselves. And events like Catlampor certainly help. First Jupiter event for 64% of the attendees that came out. That was very cool to see. Jupe holders, developers, DeFi users there. Most people wanted us to do it at least twice a year. And hopefully we're going to have some more events like that in the future. All right. I think that's about it. May, any closing words on the community before we hear from the cat himself? He is awake. He is on the call.
The Jupiverse is unmatched, and I think like we have a really, really strong community, and I'm excited to make things happen with the community.
Fantastic, as am I. Well, YK, May, thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure to see you both. We will talk again in 9 hours when we all wake up and have to go back to work. So I will see you guys then. Thanks for coming on. In the meantime, we're going to get to Jono from Parify in just a bit to talk about their, I'll say it, historic investment in Jupiter. But before we do, I want to bring up, I don't know if you guys, do people know who this is? He's a bit of a low-key figure.
Yo, what up?
What's up, Meow?
Meow.
How you doing, buddy?
Meow. What up? How's it going, guys?
How much have you slept in the last 2 days, Meow?
4 hours in total.
Brian Johnson, eat your goddamn heart out. That's a joke. I like Brian Johnson. He's a very nice guy, actually.
You're just funny. You're just funny. Every time I follow his stuff, right? I like him. I admire what he's doing, right? But every time I follow his stuff, I get depressed. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, oh my god, it's like I'm so dead inside.
Have you seen his
You know what I'm
recent
saying,
stuff? His little
No, he's escaping is fun. He does fun. But have you seen the stuff where he just says, "Oh, I miss her"? That's so amazing.
It's very sweet. It's very.
Oh my god. But anyway, but it's funny.
We're not here to
because,
talk
every
about
time-
longevity. We're here to talk about the platform itself and where things are going.
No, it's anti longevity. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it's fine. Yeah. But
So,
guys, I recommend sleeping 2 hours once in a while. You know, you feel alive. You know, let's go. Yeah. You feel really dead and you get past a curve and you just feel alive. You know, right? Yeah, that's me right now. You know, let's go. Okay, all right. Cool.
Anyway,
All right.
so quick platform thoughts. Want to give a little bit of a kind of, we like to use these calls when we have thousands of people in the community watching to do the kind of mental programming to help explain where we are, where we're going, what the vision kind of looks like. We got 3 core efforts to unify monies. What does that mean, Meow? And what are those efforts?
So first of all, to give some context, right, is that I think that we should do this more, right? I think one of the things that I think we didn't do enough of is like I think for me, I think last year I tried to concentrate on my comms in like long essays. But I think this year I'm gonna try to like do a lot more in terms of like short comms. See what I'm saying, right? And I'll do it together with you just to make sure that everyone kind of is aligned, right? Everything. So guys, okay, so actually, so you might feel like Jupiter does a lot of things, right? But actually, we're very focused. Okay, it sounds weird to hear that word for me, but we are actually very focused. Yes, guys, we are very focused. Okay, cool. All right, now, so basically, now, you get a very easy understanding, right? You know, of Jupiter, what Jupiter is doing, right? If you understand that everything we're doing, right, even around the idea of like unifying monies, see what I'm saying, right? It's all that is about what if you imagine all the monies in the world, whether it's Bitcoin, BTC, or Bitcoin, like everything, right, in one giant on-chain universe, right? See what I'm saying, you know, right? And the goal is quite simple, right? To make whether it's accessing or exchanging, right? Accessing, exchanging, or creating, right? Monies as easy as possible. See what I'm saying, right? And I feel like so in that regard, we have three main efforts, right? The first main effort is obviously the one that we've been the Jupiter on-chain, which is our full stack DeFi platform. And that is actually the thing that we wanted to be like over here is we really want to build up the full stack competence, right? Whether it is like the contract, whether it's a contract level, the BD level, the data level, the U layer, and it's all how do we kind of build like the most comprehensive and powerful like DeFi platform? Because I think it's a lot of synergies there, right? The second thing is you hear a lot more of in the coming year is Jupiter Global, and
Yes,
so in general, I mean to simplify the world, right? It's very simple. I can think of value, the genesis of value creation, right? Now the genesis of value creation is either happen on chain, something on some chain, right, or off chain, right? Whether and everything like whether it's if a central if I tell the zoom real quick. Sorry. All right, let's go. So whether it's like whether it's a centralized stablecoin or whether it's like gold or whether it's anything else, right? It all belongs to real estate. It all belongs to off chain. See what I'm saying? And obviously today there's this big gap I'm saying, right? And this actually happens in many ways. I think obviously our recent cut effort is just Jupiter spending effort is just one thing. But really, I think that if you think about this whole effort about unifying monies, right? Now, really, it's really about how do you kind of take on value that's created on chain and value that's created off chain, and then melt them together. So I'm saying, right, in the most, and I think we are quite uniquely positioned to do that. Partly because I think we obviously I think we probably have the most experience like on chain, but in the other, but the other part of it is obviously I think we also have probably one of the biggest reach of chain. So I think that's actually kind of how we want to. And again, very early days, but that's the second effort. The third effort is the or omnichannel platform. I think you'll see a lot more of that coming soon. But generally speaking, it's a global in this market where I think the whole goal is kind of like how do you kind of make liquidity across chains as seamless as liquidity on any chain. Yeah, so that's actually one. So broadly speaking, if you so broadly speaking, you kind of like that's like three big efforts, right? And then the second thing that we'll be doing a lot more of, and this is something that we haven't really done in the past, right? Is that we haven't. I think it's about how do we kind of build a more cohesive ecosystem efforts, right? So first of all, it's verified, But I think over here, I think we have run Jupiter Verify for like the last like 4 or 5 years, and 3 or 4 years. And I think that it's obviously kind of one of the top verification platforms. And now effort is like, hey, can we kind of like hey, Cash, can you imagine? Cash, can you imagine something? Like,
what's that?
Imagine 2 years later, right? Imagine 100 times more tokens, right? 100 tons of tokens, 100 tons of variety of tokens, right? 100 tons more use cases of tokens. See what I'm saying, right? I mean, that's just crazy, right? So I think what you see, right, is that in every single era of the evolution, right, you need new verification systems, right? Obviously, at first, obviously it was a success. Obviously, it was like success initially, right? Like and later it was like other online platforms. But then and then Jupiter Verify. But then what's next, right? Something. So I think we are really that's what Jupiter Verify is, right? Really building for that world. So I'm saying whereby 100 times more to 100 times more, like 100 use cases, 100 variety. So I'm saying, right? Obviously 100 more scammers too. I'm saying, yeah. All right. So I think a token hub, another very so people might not know this, but we are low key. Our token page is like low key one of the most trafficked properties, right? On chain, right? So now the thing is like, hey, what do you do more of that, right? So everything so far on the token page has been quite read only. So I'm saying, right? How do we make it more, do more? So I'm saying, whether it's like whether it's on people to write to it or execute on tokens and stuff, how do we really encourage that token ecosystem, right? So I think that's actually something I want to do. Then the thing is build Jupiter. Oh, this is actually very exciting. Basically we think that the Fluid partnership is amazing. And then Cash, that's amazing. And then this amazing is it's like even with AI, right? It doesn't matter. It's like it doesn't matter if you don't have builders, right? That really have the dynamic passion to build stuff. See what I'm saying, right? So that's actually the thing that we wanna be able to do, right? We'll be working on several key initiatives to really kind of see if we can partner with other builders to actually embark on a Fluid partnership. Yeah, and obviously obviously explore one direction across one is. So I think these are like the different other something that I think the GOM has been working on. So these are our ecosystem efforts. Yeah. Okay, this is fun. All right. Of course, how can we not talk about the future of Jupiter if we're talking about agents? So I think so far like everybody else, I think Jupiter has been like very very focused and thinking about what the new world looks like. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that I won't say too much here, but I think there'll be three kind of main things. I think the first will be for the consumer. I think we'll be kind of innovating on some. I'm low key bullish on being able to do a really good effort here. I think we are very well positioned to actually. Was that reason? Sorry.
Only low key bullish.
I'm low key, right? Because I deliver, right? So I have to ship it, right? I think Italo and Paz are doing some amazing work here. I think and I'll be working with Joe and everyone to kind of like ship it. Yeah. So I think I low key. But I think the reason low key is because I think that we have a really strong stack. We have a really good eye for UX, and then I think we have a lot of ways to push it. I think also exploring different surfaces as well. So I think that it's also the developers as well. And this is something I'm personally very excited about. I think I feel like we have some really fun ideas to push to not just advance Jupyter forward, but advance like the whole aging landscape forward. So pretty excited about that. Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on here, folks. So just to kind of recap those, because that was listen, there's a lot of stuff happening at the Jupyter platform. Shit like fucking crazy. Unifying monies on-chain, off-chain, everything in between through these kind of three key pillars as we see. It's the Jupyter on-chain full stack platform, Jupyter Global. You can just see by the fact that we're putting Jupyter on-chain, Gum by Jupyter, and then Jupyter Global in that same kind of categorization, how serious we are about Jupyter Global. Shout out again to Tommy Dex and the rest of the gang. Going to be a massive thing. People see the card right now where you can spend your stable coins, earn a bunch of cash back in the very near future. They're not yet seeing the full vision. The vision is much larger than just using stablecoins in the real world. It's going to get bigger and bigger. So as we use this as kind of like the roadmap for the major things that matter, there's other ecosystem efforts coming up, including Verify, token hubs, continue to push forward on the developer and the builder side, and increasingly on the Injectic side as well. And this is something Meow, Meow's been vibe coding a little bit himself on the side. You want to tell people what you built?
Dude, what vibe coding?
Surprise though. We don't want to talk about that.
What do you mean, man, bro? I'm a very serious engineer. Okay, like people don't know.
But the agentic stuff is coming both on the product level and on the developer level and on the R&D level, which more things are coming here. So those are some quick platform thoughts. I know we're already like way over, and I still definitely want to talk to Jono from Verify. But Meow, anything else you wanted to say about kind of where we're going or the vision to be setting here?
No, I think for me, I think it's less about, I just want to say that I want to commit to doing more of this, just sharing what we are doing and what's coming up. I think that'll be helpful. Is it helpful? What do you think?
I think it's helpful. Especially if we can do it in short form. I think the one problem with this format is that it's been an hour and 15 minutes. Which is
we could. You could.
If we can figure out how to do it in short format to get this out, I think it'd be good. And it's just about giving it to people in all sorts of different ways. One of my favorite repetition does not spoil the prayer. So like the more we can say it, the more it can be kind of mental programming for everybody.
Let's go, Jono. Let's go, Jono. We're boring. Let's go talk to exciting guys.
All right, let's bring him up here. So
let's
talk a little bit about this major investment. We've been trying to make it happen. He's a busy man. Let me say, he did fly to Kuala Lumpur on basically 48 hours notice. Fought through the jet lag, doing investor meetings or IC meetings at God knows what time in the night, all to be with us at CL. But in case you missed it, please drop a little JM in the chat for our guy, Jono. What's up, Jono? How you been, buddy?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Yo, what up?
It's going very well, my friend. All the better now that you are here. In case people don't know, do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Jonah from Verify. Recently invested 35 million into the Jup token with Jupyter. Incredibly excited to be the first external investor, as mentioned.
Let's go.
And yeah, I love the vision on agentic payments. It was something we were talking about internally, and happy to see that you guys are very much future looking in terms of where the protocol is going.
I mean, we can share. We should talk more a bit more, right? But I think the whole, I think as every trend, right, it's both overhyped and underappreciated, right? In a sense, I think most of the things that we think is going to be useful today is going to be wrong, But now I think that, but in the future, it's going to be much bigger than we think it's going to be, right? So I think for us, it really is about kind of how do we create like sandboxes, right? I'm saying sandboxes where users can actually feel safe to actually put money in there and actually use it. So that's actually the main thing that we'll be kind of working on. How do we sandbox? I think let's just share with you a bit, right? Like how do we create sandbox experience so that users feel safe? The second thing is how do we feel sandbox experience such that other people can contribute their agents, right, to help people do stuff, right? The third one will be how do we kind of create how do we create a sandbox experience stuff to allow the users to allow a lot of aggressive experimentation happen. But with for example, you can enforce the rules on the board level, or the contract level, or at the rule level. So that there's just really a lot of innovation how we can make it safe. Right? Yeah. So I think that's actually pretty fun.
It's one of the nice things about also investing in Jupiter, I will say, is that we are a portfolio unto ourselves. Given that we just do basically everything that is going to matter and be a big part of the deal here.
Guys, sorry, real quick. Guys, Parafy has a really fucking awesome history, right, in DeFi. And DeFi is not the old, right? But Parafy has been with DeFi for a long time. I mean, this is like, we can talk about this thing, but Juno, you should definitely talk about the Parafy DeFi. The Parafy DeFi stories is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, in terms of Parafy, we've been one of the earliest firms solely focused on the crypto landscape. We've had the opportunity to back some of the leading protocols of today, the likes of Uniswap, Polymarket, etc. And really, we've been around for 8 years. We've had an incredible journey, and in many ways, we see the exact same with Jupiter. I think the story of Jupiter is just getting started, right? There's agentic payments. There's going into institutional capital with Jupeland, developing JupUSD. There's so many incredible so many incredible segments to be really excited about. I think from our side, we very much view ourselves not just like an investment firm, but also a very much a deep research and technical firm. And I think alongside those lines, right, there are so many ways that Parafy and our tech team can work alongside the Jupe tech team. On the Jupe Sol, for example. Cash, I think you recently put out that you can now borrow against your native Sol position. I think the first of its kind. I mean, guys, congratulations. That's truly incredible.
Thank you, buddy.
So yeah, just incredibly excited.
Actually, we had a really interesting talk with Juno earlier. I think that one of the things that we actually talked about quite a bit was is the idea that I mean, you have two kinds of investors, right? The first kind of investors are those that are they see the trend and they invest. They think they're trend chasers, right? And other investors are people who really engage, with the community. So I think I've been many cases where even way back, I know Parafy has been in trenches, in the DAO trenches. So DAO trenches, product trenches, DeFi trenches, liquidity mining trenches. Hey, Juno, remember do you guys remember the old DeFi summer?
Yeah, cool.
That was crazy times. Holy shit! I feel like this industry is every few years this industry is discover new ways, right, to surprise ourselves. You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah, and it's just good to have you guys here. Yeah, but a question for you, Juno. How do you guys do it? How do you guys manage to be both insty and also very insty but also very experimental, being willing to kind of go into the experimental stuff, right? That's something that I've always really found impressive for you guys. Yeah,
I think it's always like a bell curve approach, right? It's understanding what's happening at the cutting edges, but also understanding what's working as of today. I think in many ways DeFi has lived up to some of the learnings of 2020 and 2021. While some of I think the remnant protocols and kind of experiments per se, let's call I think the best case algo stables, right? I think there are a lot of learnings there, from that category. Well, I think most of them, were broken effectively. I think that has created in some ways what exists today in DeFi in terms of yield bearing stables, etc. And so I think it's it's a bell curve approach, right? Being able to understand what's working today as well as understanding what's being experimented with. And I think to emphasize that, I think agentic payments right now are kind of that experiment, right? And in some respects it is working, and it kind of does leave this imaginary future of, hey, how does Jupiter position itself for something along those lines? I'll also just quickly add, because my compliance is pinging me that Parafy is an investor in Jupiter. And so anything I say should not be construed as investment advice. And anything I say,
that's how they keep the insty as well as the trenches. They make sure to listen to compliance. That is
exactly
good.
That is so funny. It's so funny.
To be very clear here. So
Representing Parify, representing This is not none of this.
Yeah,
Is
cash,
financial planning.
but guys, cash is my compliance, by the way. No joking. Like the last 2 weeks and stuff, that is like I always tell in every team meeting, there's always like like there's my inner soul here and there's just cash here. So they're all like telling me different things.
Your inner
Things
soul
like
is
that,
the devil, and I'm the little angel on your shoulder.
Nah,
Just
fuck you, fuck off.
about it.
Nah.
In any case, I
Look
think
at
listen. I think it's important to point out that Parify is great, obviously, and it was more about Parify than it was the money. Just to be like super clear to anyone who does not know the deal terms yet. The capital is great. $35 million into the Jupe token is lovely, but it's really there as a way to align incentives more than anything else, to really have that kind of skin in the game. This was a deal. Deals at this size are not happening in these bear markets, point blank, period. To the degree that there are any deals happening in these markets, they're happening at 30 to 70% discounts. And that was not the case on this deal, right? Without a discount, pure alignment on the long term, creating a win-win kind of situation between the two firms, because we need the ally, we need people that understand how we can kind of take it to the next level, and Parify is certainly there as top of the list in terms of being able to help there. But Jono, I am curious, from your guys' perspective, having invested in Uni and Polymarket and so forth, were there any kind of specific traits or kind of resonances you've seen across those previous companies that got you guys really excited about Jupe?
I think by far, you, Meow, Cash, I think the entire leadership team on at Jupiter is all in on the token, and I think that is an incredibly attractive position to be in as an investor, where we are fully aligned with the remaining token holders, or all token holders, should I say. I think sometimes you get caught up in our space where there's sometimes value accrual leaking to an equity entity, or there's some value kind of dispersion across the multiple different entities. And I think, spending multiple hours with both of you in person, and over really the last year, we've probably spent way too much time together, candidly, guys. But really just seeing that, philosophically, we are all aligned, and we have zero concerns about, any value leakage. And I think structurally, this is set up to be the case. And I think to your point, Cash, what's great is we will both win together or we will both lose together. And there's no situation where, there's some financial engineering behind the scenes in any respect like that. So in many ways, I think this investment could set a platform for the rest of the industry.
Well, I think it's really a sign of strong confidence from people that have a proven track record of having strong confidence. I will say, very honestly, it's great to have you, Anja, and Ben, the rest of the team on our side as well. And I know we have a lot of very good things to go with. The tech is amazing, but the essays are what hooked me, says Scarlett. Yes, we are famous for that over here as well. So people, what can they expect as a result of this partnership, John? What do you think? How will it show up to the rest of these folks here?
Yeah, I don't think we're here to, force the team to develop a specific product per se. I would view Parify as a, amplifying kind of light on Jupiter, whether it is JupeLand, JupeUSD, JLP, Ultra. Really, I think, it's on us to really help you guys execute on the vision, whether that is for agents, cats, or whatever it may be.
Indeed.
So funny. Yeah. I think for me, just to share, I think there'll be three things. I think firstly, I think I think I said earlier, I think the key things around the feedback. I think having would love to kind of think of you guys as an external feedback team. That'll be helpful. I think the thing that I've always told everyone is the idea that Jupiter was really built one ticket at a time. So then right, everything is built one ticket at a time. And I think that we have to always so I feel like having an external feedback team that has a really good purview of the industry, that'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. I think the second thing is obviously looking forward to a lot more collaboration. I think Jupiter Global is going to be a really interesting thing as well. And then obviously tons of synergies there around bridging the on-chain and off-chain, right? I think it's also very cool because just like us, right? We think that we are really strong on-chain and we have a really good presence off-chain, right? And similar to you guys too. You guys are also very strong in both. So that could be actually another really fun area to collaborate. And the third one, and the third area is obviously kind of the more new stuff, right? Just being able to like just experimenting together with on one might look like. So anything, right? I think that the for example, like liquidity mining, right? It didn't what manifested what was created and the hyped back then didn't become the norm. So right, but it showed the future. So right. So that is how we think about a lot of stuff. We have to kind of really kind of be investing and be learning about these things. And yeah, that's it. So as I learn together. Yep.
Yeah,
It's going to be huge. Big things coming. Jono, thanks again for the vote of confidence from you and the rest of the team. It's been a pleasure already, and many more big things coming. People will be excited to see it. Krish, let me just do that about as clearly as I can for you. I'll blink twice. People are asking me to blow kisses in the chat and all this stuff. But in any case, I know Jono's got to go. We also have hard stops coming up. So with that, Jono, thanks for coming out. Thanks for being a part of this journey with us. We'll talk to you again very soon.
See you guys.
Bye. See you guys.
All right. Well, just to wrap up real quick in terms of the light planetary call, what do we talk about? Net zero emissions vote has concluded.
Light. How is this light?
This is the light. This is how light it is after an hour and a half on stream. This is the way that it goes. 75% in favor. 82% of votes changed from the first vote to the second vote. Very interesting to see majority across 4 out of the 5 kind of tiers. A lot of great feedback, proving the kind of value of bringing the decision back to the community here. Borrowing against native stake SOL is now live on Jupiter Lend. Go check that out. The AI arc is very much in full swing. Galileo and beta, agent skills, jup.md right now. You can go use that. Jupiter Prediction Market API is live. SOL Rent Reclaim is live. We talked about community strategy, talked about the platform strategy, talked about Jono and how great Parify is. And it still feels like there's a bunch of things missing from this list, which is really amazing. So what I could say is, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thank you very much for coming out, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks, same time, same place. Goodbye.